Yeah.
اوكي السلام عليكم صباح الخير جميعا رمضان كريم عليكم. هذا اول يوم رمضان. انا اسمي مجاهد طبعا. ساكن في ابو ظبي يعني في الباية. عندي شلبي 2014 بحبها كثير اسميها روز لانه لونها احمر. فاليوم بيكون عندنا شغل. طبعا هذه السيارة 2014. The mods on the car is she's Bolton 2.4 supercharger pulley and 123 GLT intake filter and 65 Ford Racing throttle body, headers, full headers, and the car has oil separators and some safety things I will show you after a while, and has RXT 1000 horsepower clutch McLeod, and has heat exchanger, oil tanks, cooling tanks, and the car also a drive shaft. There's a 1000 horsepower drive shaft, aluminum, and we got here even under the transmission. The transmission is even upgraded from RPM performance in US, and I had under the transmission there is I put just like they call it like I don't know, like something like a wing that cooling. It cools the transmission by the air, the air just going flow to hit that wing and then going toward the transmission, just more cooling يعني. So I have here oh yeah, oh that's cool. Oh later so I have here Chris.
What's going on, guys? My name's Chris, here in Abu Dhabi, UAE, getting ready to work on this GT500 for a friend of mine. Little history from the US. I've been working on cars, diesel vehicles,
Since when?
engine repair. Since young. Since I could walk, I've been working on things.
Since 15 years old or something like that.
Since I could turn my hands, I've been taking things apart and putting them back together. So.
And military, when did you join?
About 6 years in the military, being a mechanic, all-wheel vehicle mechanic in the military.
Oh.
So working on big trucks from 50-ton vehicles to smaller Humvees, but
You work
a lot of diesel repair. So.
Yeah, the diesel engine is like heavy. Just the engine is like heavy. This car, like
exactly.
heavy, like this Shelby GT500.
So, no, it's I've also worked on a lot of high-performance vehicles, so I have a lot of experience working on vehicles such as this.
Yeah.
Previously, we've done some oil change, some small maintenance items, but we're back here today to troubleshoot some items.
Yeah, and thank you for the last service. Wallah, it was really nice, and the work was so good, and he showed me and teach me a lot of things, that because I'm interested into mechanics, and we got each other into drag racing, and drag racing, yes. And that was so
like to
cool.
Go fast, so.
That's so cool. So this is the car. She's so beautiful. This is it. This is the JLT intake. I told you 123 and this is the carbon fiber intake, and this is the Ford Racing 65 twin, and this is the pulley. It's smaller. This is the pulley I'm talking to you about, supercharger pulley, and the belt, green belt, because the stock belt will not handle the power. It will cut. And I did pay. This is oil breather. You put it in the instead of putting the oil cap here, because it lets the steam of the oil to breathe out, not to go back or to just spread it here, make the engine dirty. And this is the oil separator that separates the oil to not go back to the intake or to the supercharger, to not make mess inside. So no, to go from here and stored here, and then just take this off, pop, throw the oil outside, and then bring it back. So I did this paint. This it was yellow, and I did paint the spark plug cover here. So what we are going to do? This is the cooling tank I'm telling you about. The stock one is plastic, will not handle. After years, it will not handle the heat of the waters. Then it will start leaking outside. So better, more safety. So this is what we got, and today I have a problem.
Today we're here troubleshoot some work that was previously done at some other garages. Like he said, he has aftermarket heat exchanger, dual fans, as well as he had the heat exchanger pump replaced, bracket, and some wiring. But we're having issues with this, so today we're going to be troubleshooting that. We are also going to be touching up the heat exchanger Shelby.
Hey.
We're going to be painting that so it looks nice and fresh, nice and new.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things that I think he might forget about what he did before. Also in the US, he's doing some paint stuff. He's doing so good when it comes to paint. And then we will show you back, inshallah, what's gonna be here after the paint even. So we will replace the heat exchanger.
Yep. Well, we'll remove it, we'll clean it, paint it, and we'll also just trace all of these wires.
Because I was having a bad issues before because it was heating up this sometimes because it will shut off. There's some problem in the electricity wiring. The garage had made some mistakes. I don't know what is it. So we will try to find out. Wallah, please help me. And the reason why I changed the heat exchanger when you do mods in the Shelby GT500 because the stock one actually it works pretty good, but there is no even the size is smaller than this the aftermarket heat exchanger, the Shelby one, and there is no fans. There is no fans, to cool the waters if the car is just like it's not
Parked, stationary,
like
especially here with all the speed bumps that we have. This is
and the heat.
Yeah,
what we have
build up
here
a lot of heat with these kind of cars.
in
So
Middle
keeping
East.
them cool.
It kills, yeah. So you put aftermarket one so to keep the supercharger cool and to let the supercharger compress the air cold inside the engine. More performance, man. You just do more safety things that keeps the engines fresh and healthy. We're going to lift the car up and then remove the bolts from the bumper. We need to remove all the bumper outside, and then go under the car, drain the supercharger water, coolant water, and then try to take off the heat exchanger. So I don't know where we'll start first, heat exchanger or electrical problems.
Just probably remove the bumper just so we have access to all the wiring. We can trace it back from the fans all the way back.
Oh, good.
But yeah, I think we'll probably lift the car, remove the bumper, try to take it off as one shell.
Yeah.
Just so it's easier for us to look at, and then
Nice.
we'll start with that.
Nice. See what we got here, because a few months ago and few days I saw the water was so less. Now I just refilled it, but last time it was like very low and I refilled it, but I didn't know that there were a problem. But after
this is also a sealed system, so it shouldn't there's really nowhere for it to go. It builds up pressure. This is actually a pressure cap, so it just builds up the pressure, it releases it, but you really shouldn't be running out of fluid. And that's why when he had mentioned that, it was another concern of mine to inspect the heat exchanger and any of the lines for leaks. But as we took the bumper off, you can see that the fins were actually a little bit darker on both corners.
Yeah, they are wet from the both sides.
Yeah. So with close inspection, we actually found a crack right here.
I don't know how to get the camera here.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, it's right here.
But there's a crack actually right here in this corner.
Yeah,
and I'm assuming there's going to be one here as well. But you can tell there's some sort of leak or fluid that has been coming off this heat exchanger.
See the wetness it shows. We need to.
We'll remove this and probably re-weld with aluminum.
Yeah.
So we'll take it from there.
Problem. And then see the water pump, the supercharger water pump. I have changed it because the stock one, everyone knew that the stock one doesn't flow that good for aftermarket stuff or do bolts on or high horsepower. So you need to make an aftermarket ones. So I have changed bush. This is the water pump. It's a bush, but I figure out there's a problem as Chris even said, because how they did it.
Yeah, so I'll try to explain it the best as I can. So he brought this vehicle to a shop because the previous heat exchanger water pump was maybe faulting out, not working properly. They decided to replace this with a Bosch unit, except this is not OEM replacement. This is not Ford. This is not an aftermarket for Ford. This actually looks like possibly a Audi or even a VW Mercedes water pump. They like to run a lot of heat exchangers because they run a lot of turbos in the Mercedes and whatnot. You can also tell by this handmade bracket that somebody has come up with.
Yeah.
Ford Performance would not make any sort of bracket that looks like this.
It looks shitty.
One of the other things that discovering that he does have a crack in his heat exchanger, there could be a lot of fault with this sharp right angle that previously with this pump and this is not a very this causes a lot of restriction in your water, especially for your pump.
Yeah.
The other issue that we're having with the wiring is because this is not an OEM replacement, they've had to tape up some of the existing wires. From factory, this water pump will turn on. The pump will turn on the fans, and it all works together to keep the supercharger cool.
When it reaches to a certain temperature, right?
Yeah.
And then it will start to work.
Exactly. And this is just to try to keep your intake temperatures cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, we are gonna take a look at this, see if we can move some of these hoses around, and
yeah, and this one is all the time is running. I as I see, even if the car is cold or not, all the time is running.
So we're gonna take a look, try to follow some of these wires, make sure that the wiring is all correct. We did follow some of the wires back, actually, to this fuse box, which we had a lot of surprises. So within this fuse box, we found this bundle that actually came from the heat exchanger. Half is good, half is, it's 2/3 good, 1/3 not so good.
Because this comes with the
so this harness came from the heat exchanger fans from Lethal
Performance.
Yep, Lethal Performance. But as you can see here, the garage that installed it and the water pump, some sort of bypass here, but this is not a watertight connection, so you're getting a lot of corrosion in here from just water buildup. Any fuses like this should not be open to the elements. These have a proper waterproof weather seal, they call them. It keeps a lot of the water out. But after finding this, I decided to just keep following it back, and we also found this wiring that was just plugged into this 5-amp fuse. I will take a look at the owner's manual. I'm assuming this is probably for factory water pump. And this is what they're using to turn on the aftermarket Bosch pump that they replaced.
Yeah.
So if this is live wire, we will test this. We will try to replace this with a red wire to make sure that it is properly identified as a power wire. It should be red. A black is what they call a ground, or here I think they call it earth wire. So we're just going to try to clean some of these wires up to make sure that we have a proper connection for this water pump.
Nice.
Wiring. We didn't show on video, but we removed the whole wiring harness from the Bosch pump all the way back to the fans, from the fans to the relays, all the way back to the fuse box. We pulled the wire out of the whole harness. Here we've relocated the relays from the factory Lethal Performance heat exchanger. We relocated the relays to here. The issue that we're going to have to come back to is this mess of wires that was
in the car.
That was installed to run the Bosch pump. It's not a Ford Performance part like we had mentioned earlier in the other videos. So we are going to rebuild this Lethal Performance harness. I have sent them an email to get us a wiring harness.
The GoPro is done. No battery, so we continue here. So we have after we finish the describing the problem here,
to show some of the wiring that was done in
Musaffa, some performance garages, as they say.
We go from blue thick gauge to a black. It was actually went red, but I had cut it so I could try to figure out all of this mess.
Maybe they were having a party or something.
Yeah, a spiderweb party.
Different colors. Anyway.
But anyways, we figured this out. We traced all the wires back. We found the relay for the heat exchanger from the OEM computer.
Nice.
So we will rewire this correctly. While we had the heat exchanger off and we took the fans off, we inspected them as well to make sure that they were working properly.
Oh yeah.
One of the things that we noticed on one of the fans was it was actually wearing. You can see some wearing marks.
Yeah, it hits the plastic.
So it was actually hitting. So we ended up taking the motor apart to try to figure out, what could have been the issue. And it looked like the fan was actually walking on this little pin. What I mean by walking is it was pivoting.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So what we're gonna have to do is basically replace this whole unit with a new replacement one. We might look to see about replacing this, but it's really the fan that's messed up. So it's probably going to be a whole new unit that's just easier to replace it.
Oh yeah. I hope we can find something. And
while we were also here, we ended up just washing everything, cleaning it. There was a lot of dirt, sand. You guys understand living here in Abu Dhabi.
The pipes and stuff.
Especially all this. Keeping things clean.
Was
keep
so
the sand
greasy.
away.
Oh yeah, that's cool. And those relays, it was only just here, but see people, I did some work here. I'm happy. See, I can do some drilling here. so we drill here to to mount them, to place them, without any movement, like stable. It's a nice spot to put the relays here. Yeah, that's cool. That's it.